Bonjour, peeps. Hi, this is Neshi Lilkatz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page, where I do a daily live stream based on the card draws that I've done in the morning. And today is Wednesday, November 14th. We're right in the middle of the week, right? This week's almost done. Oh my gosh. I mean, it feels like we fit a whole week in just the first half of the week, the Monday through Wednesday, doesn't it? It does for me anyway. So welcome. I broadcast from Star Nations Academy, which is a block from my home, and it's sunny today, but really cold. When I got up this morning at a little bit before 6, it was 8 degrees above zero. 8. Our high today is 27. I laugh about it because, this is middle of November. We have a long ways to go for winter. Hey, hello, Rochelle. Hello, Julie. Welcome to the live chat. So glad to see you ladies there. It's always fun to share this time with you guys. It was a very interesting morning. I'm going to tell you about it in a second. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the live stream before I forget. And share it and like it. So, and it won't take me long. It was just a little bit of a pause. I just have to find it. Here we are. And I always share it to my news feed, so that my friends know that I'm live streaming. And asking them to please join. There we go. And then I'm going to post it over to our closed groups here at Star Nations. And our closed groups are the network, radio network, and also the Academy group are the two places that our most active community members hang out. So I just want to remind them that I'm live streaming and then to please join us. There we go. Good, that's done. I just want to make sure I get to the right groups here. Those bifocal things, You think you hit one line and it's like, oh man, that was the wrong line. Okay, so there we go. All right. So this morning, we had an appointment for George here at home. We're working with a trainer. Her name is Lori, and she's the owner of King's Creatures. And she's a trainer of primarily dogs, right? And so she came in. She was here last week too, and she came in. And as soon as George saw her, he kind of put on the brakes. It's like, oh no, not that lady. But he did really well. And what we found out today is that really Paul and I are the ones that are getting trained because we have to be on the same page for commands and that kind of thing. But George, he was like this model student. She only had to ask him once to do something, lie down or place is what they're calling it. Place. That's his kennel, right? And so anyway, he was like this gold star student. He was like, oh, look at me. I get all these treats. And then she pulled out something it's like a tube, right? And he's supposed to go through the tube. Well, that really it actually kind of freaked him out. But it was nothing really scary either. It was just something new, right? And so Paul and I had to coax him through there. And she's there with us for an hour. In 45 minutes, he was like, I've had enough. I'm going to sleep. And so he did. But he did really well. And so did Paul and I. But it was like, it was a very interesting hour session. And then we took him to doggy daycare. So that's where he's at right now. That's why it's kind of quiet here. I kind of miss him. There's a lot of energy he carries. Yeah. And Rochelle said that today is my oldest son's birthday. Really? Well, happy birthday to him. Hopefully he'll have a very pleasant birthday, celebrating and marking the occasion, right? Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Elise. Good to see you. Hey, thanks for sharing that picture with the the stepping stone that you sent me. Yeah, it's actually, I have it here up here at the academy. I don't want to put it outside because, I don't want it to crack. And with 8 degrees in the morning, that it will definitely do that. And so it's up here, but it's not in the exact place that I want it. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't sing to me in that placement. So we're going to move it around a few times and see where it really wants to stay. Yeah. So anyway, here are the cards for today. Cards we've already had before, but I don't think we've ever had them in this combination. So this guy is going to look familiar to you. Hunter. Do you remember that guy with the horns? 2 different kind of horns, right? He's got the stag horns, but he also has the ram horns as well. Yeah. His tribal tattoos. Track down your fears and desires. Track down your fears and desires. Yeah. This is a very interesting card. There's a lot going on in that cave too. We got drawings in there of animals, and we have the triple swirl up on top. And the triple swirl actually is really connected to Newgrange in Ireland. Newgrange is a burial cairn. I've been there as a tourist. I've been there, I think, 3 times. At least 3. Could be 4. Yeah, it's a very interesting place to be. The first time I was there, I remember putting tobacco down before we even got to the actual cairn, the marker stones that are on the outside perimeter, and asking for permission to pass, because it's in my belief that I grew up with, that when we go to sacred sites like that, is that we ask for permission from the guardians that protect the place, and also from the spirits who are there. If it's someplace that for our highest good that we should be at, right? And then you wait for the reply, for the yes. And when I got the yes, I proceeded to the main entrance. Of course, we had a tour guide, and so we had to wait for the tour ahead of us to finish, because it's not that big on the inside, because they're only showing us a portion of the cairn. There's much more behind it that I'm sure that they've seen, the people who curate it and work there, but the general public doesn't see it. And we went through the explanation of the inside of the cairn, and there was the cairn is actually, the door is situated to face east, okay, and it is a sacred site that's used for the solstices, the summer and winter solstices. And so when the sun breaks the horizon, the sunlight enters the portico, okay, the doorway, and there's like a window that's just above the door, and the sunlight comes through there, and it illuminates the pathway into the cairn, and the cairn kind of widens out in the back, and so when the sun lights the cairn, the hallway, so to speak, the passageway, then it eventually will light up the entire inside of the cairn, and especially the back wall. Okay, and they do lottery. You can sign up for it and have your name drawn. They only take so many people into the cairn for the solstices, and on the outside of the cairn are massive amounts of people. Because everybody wants to be there for the solstices. And what they do on the tours is that they simulate the sunlight as the solstice. So they have power, they have electrical lights and stuff that go out there. And so what they do is that when you first walk in, so you can see it, because it's going to be pitch black, right? So you can see the cave drawings and that sort of thing. And then what they do is they turn off the lights and it gets dark in there, really, really dark. even in the middle of the day. And the first time I was there with some friends from Interior Alignment. We had met there. And so our good friend Phil, she was there. She was the one who took us there. And then a lady from Switzerland and one from Norway. I think that was just the three of us that went to that one. Anyway, the lady from Switzerland was to my right, and then the lady from Norway was standing across from us. And when the lights went out, what I saw was this red light, this like an orb, but it wasn't tiny. It was kind of big. Came zipping through down the passageway, and then through the crowd, and then it went into the wall on the back, right? And because it was so dark, you couldn't tell if your eyes were open or closed. And so I'm standing there and I'm thinking, what did I just see? What was that? And as soon as I asked that question, I could feel somebody come and stand right next to me, right? And I'm thinking it was Carol, the lady from Switzerland. Maybe she got scared or something, and so she came over to stand by me. Lights came on so that they could simulate the sun rays coming through, right? And how it would illuminate the entire cairn on the inside. And so when it was light enough for us to see in there, I'm looking around. There was nobody standing next to me. And so the tour guide is talking, is explaining stuff, but it was kind of like one of those Charlie Brown moments, when they have the adults talking and you hear them going, wah, 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 wah. Yeah, that was one of those moments. Because I didn't hear anything the tour guide said. I was going, who was that? What was that? Why was I experiencing that? I'm talking to my spiritual team, not paying any attention to the tour guide. Well, it turns out that that was one of the reasons why I was drawn there, is to experience that and to meet the spirits that were there. And the one who came to stand next to me was one of the last, I don't want to call them shamans, but one of their last medicine people, okay, that was there. And right. And, and they say that how the stones got there, that, and they're shipped from, or they come from a place that's quite a ways away from where the cairn is at. And so they have this thing about how those early people, those ancient ones, how they moved those stones and blah, 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 right? That's not how they did it. Really, they did have help. They did have star beings help, but it had more to do with working with nature than against it. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, that's the story about the cairns. And so that's what this card always reminds me of, the hunter, because it's very Celtic, very, very Celtic. And in the background, that cave. Yeah. And it's got the symbol of Newgrange right up here. The three spirals together. Yeah. Elise said, I have made so many stones, and from what I have been told, most are not outside. Yeah, I don't want it to crack, I want to keep it around. Hey, Rob's here. So is Jackie. Hey, guys. And my sister Minnie's here too. Good to have you in the chat. And so in that last trip that I made to Ireland, and that was actually with Minnie and her tour group, and actually, the reason why I went on that tour is so that I could be with my friends to experience Ireland, some of them for the first time. And so that was a memorable trip too. But, going to Newgrange, it doesn't have that newness because I've been there so many times. I do know they came to me in a dream once when I was in Ireland. I think it was the second time, and were showing me how those ancient ones, how they would connect to the stones, and the stone, getting the stones to work with them and volunteer to be part of that structure and the reason for the structure. And so they would actually move themselves there. That's how all those huge stones got put in place there. Yeah. But you don't hear that story. No, you hear the one about how they used timber to roll the stones and how they floated them down the river, that kind of stuff. Just one of those belief systems, right? So here we go. We got Hunter, and we know that this guy wants us to track down our fears and our desires, locate them, because it's the fears and the desires are kind of like yin and yang, right? They are the same coin, just on the opposite sides of that same coin. So when you have a fear, on the other side of the fear lies one of your desires. It's one of the you might call them challenges. When we have a challenge, is because there's a part of it that there's an element of fear to it. And so when we locate that fear, when we can name it, then we what we do is we start healing it. We start moving energy, right, to do that healing. And so when we're through that, on the other side of that is our desire, or part of our heart's desire. It's a part that might bring us even closer to our heart's desire. Yeah. So, when we turn away from our fears, when we act like they're not there, I don't see that. I didn't experience that. Sometimes we do it for a lot of years, right? Sometimes decades. Yeah. So I was just thinking, my mom's fear of heights. She has a fear of heights. She can't even get on a step stool. Yeah. So when we were kids, we always had to do the climbing. We had to get up there and change the light bulb or something like that, because she has this fear of heights. And she knows about it, has never done anything about it to overcome that fear. And so, I just, for a second, that went through my mind. I said, what's on the other side of that? I wonder what's on the other side of that for her. Yeah. And because of that fear, my youngest brother and I don't have a fear of heights, because we're the ones that had to be up, to climb the ladder to get this down or that down or change that light bulb or something like that during the day, right? When my dad came home, of course, he did all of that, and so did my older brother. But there were times during the day where we had to help out. Yeah. So when we face our fears, hey, Minnie's waving. I'm going to wave back. All right, so let's find out what Kyle Gray, who is the author of the deck of cards we're using, Angels and Ancestors. Here's what he says about Hunter. He says, track down all of your fearful thoughts and feelings. When you find them, you will find your desires too. The card, the image on the card is of a Celtic god, to kind of bring that essence and that medicine of this Celtic god, Cernunnos. He's the stag god and a stag god of the wild hunt, and represents both the hunted and the hunter, right? The hunter helps you to connect with the energy that is both fearful and fearless. And you know what I say about fearless? That means that we're going in with an abundance of love. That's why it's fearless. It says that your fears are the only things that's standing between you and what you desire. So you have to overcome. So you have to come face to face with the fears, to face them as the hunter faces those wild animals and then goes beyond. Okay. So in that tracking down, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of when we think, what is that? Why do I feel that way? Where did it start? So we start doing our own reflection, our own memories, right? Of where this fear began. And we can actually track its, how how it evolved, how it changed, and how it shifted, how it morphed into something perhaps bigger than what it was intentionally, right? And so we're doing our own research. That's what the tracking down is. And then piecing together the information, the facts that you gather to identify what is that fear, where did it start, and how do I shift that energy from fear to courage or bravery or whatever it is that you want to bring in, right? Yeah. Elise says, I think I'd be afraid of him. I don't know. I think he's kind of cute. Yeah. Kind of young. I think he's got blue eyes too. It looks blue. They look blue. It's that color blue that she uses throughout the deck because it's even on the back side of the card, right? That color blue. I think they call it woad. WOAD, woad. It's a natural ink that, thanks Elise for sharing, that the, anybody read Mists of Avalon? See the movie? The priestesses, the ones who tended the priestess, right? They had that tattoo on their forehead, and it was in blue. It was the sign of the goddess, right? And they used a natural ink called woad. I think that's how you pronounce it, WOAD. I'm going to type that into the chat here. Is that color blue natural ink? I think it's WOAD. If Stephanie's not in the house, is she? I don't think so. I didn't see her name. I'm gonna scroll up. Usually she's the one who does all the tracking down of those kinds of things. If anybody wants to Google that and see what comes up, I think it's a natural blue. How they get it, I'm not sure. So here's the message that kind of jumped out at me from Kyle. It says, when this card arises, there could be an opportunity to face an aspect of your past or bring closure to a situation that's been haunting you. So when we're working on our heart's desires, right, basically what we have to do is, do our healing work, right? And to remove those obstacles, those interferences, the debris, so that we can use our gifts to as much as we possibly can, right? And that our gifts and our talents and our skills, our education, both formal and informal. And when we realize that we are working on our heart's desire, it changes our emotions about how our intention, right? It strengthens. It puts more fire under that intention. Yeah. And so when we track down those fears, that's what we're doing. We're working on our healing work. So, because on the other side of that fear is the desire, right? So, question for those in the chat. Okay, Julie's saying extracted from the leaves. Okay, I gotta go up just a little bit further. Elise is saying, oh my God, one of my favorite books, reading it now for the third time. I know, I used to read it every November, Mists of Avalon. And then I read the series of the Avalon, the Priestess and the House of something or other. Anyway, I used to read them in November. Why November? Hunting season.
You have at least 25 appointments.
No,
Here are the
I don't.
3.
Siri just turned herself on. That's weird, isn't it? I had a friend of mine send me a text because he said, it was Eddie actually. He says, my phone keeps waving at people or saying hi to people. He goes, I'm not doing it. So if you got something from my phone, that came all on its own. Siri just turned herself on. That's so weird. Okay, so yeah, I haven't read Miss of Avalon in a few years now, but it used to be that almost no, it wasn't almost, it was every November. Why? Because it was hunting season. Paul was gone a lot. Um, it was a good time to do that, right? Yeah. Okay, and so Julie is saying that extracted from leaves. All right. Hey, Roberta's here. Hello, Roberta. She says, right on, Egyptian yellow flower is grown for its blue dye. Oh, that's where they get that from. That's interesting. So how did the goddess people in the Celtic, how did they get the blue dye that comes from Egypt? And they say, love that book too. I know. One of my faves. Marianne has passed on now. That series will be the last one. I know. Yeah, but it's a good series. It's just like the Clan of the Cave Bear series. That's one of my favorite ones too that I used to reread. But theirs are really thick books, right? Yeah. Clan of the Cave Bear is a good one too. And so anyway, that is the message that jumped out at me for this go round with the hunter, is that when we're tracking down those fears, we're doing our research. Once we can name it, once you name the unknown and you can follow the energy path to the root of it, that is some healing. That's big medicine kind of healing, right? And so, and nobody can do that for us. Nobody can track down our fears for us. Nobody can do the healing for us. They can support us, right? They can encourage us. And our spiritual team can do all of that, but our spiritual team can actually bring to us resources. They can bring to us, if you need to see a therapist, right? And you want to have a certain kind of therapist, tell your team about it. What kind of therapist are you looking for? And ask them, to bring you the resource for it. And so that our team can do those kinds of things for us. That's why it's important for us to have that conversation with them. Squirrels, literally squirrels. I was running up the tree outside the window. Lee says, love that series too, The Clan of the Cave Bear. And so that is what I think this card is about, right? And when we work with that researching our fears, because many times we already know what we're afraid of. We know that we're, for instance, afraid of heights, afraid of public speaking, afraid of a fear of having other people read your writing. There's lots of them out there, right? Yeah. And so when we can face them and start working on, where did this come from? How did I even get here with that? And then going back to tracking down where that began, so that you're working at the root of it, which is, I tell you what, when you take care of the root of a situation like that, it has a domino effect, doesn't it? You're healing what you're working on, that issue, but so many other tentacles are attached to it. So when you heal at the root, many times you take care of other things along the way through that healing. It's like that domino effect. Yeah. All right. So the second card, Mother Earth. Yeah, Mother Earth. Feel loved and comforted. The artwork on this card is just so, you can see the love in her face, can't you? And the image in the background is of the triple goddess in the background. And actually, that's a fertility goddess, isn't it? Looks like it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones. My favorite pictures in this deck. But you know how I feel about Grandmother Earth, and on her shoulder, I don't know if you guys can see that, and see if they can get the camera to focus. On her shoulder is the triple spiral again. Yeah, the triple spiral. So the Earth Mother, if I can find her. She's around here somewhere. Probably should just get the page number. That's probably the quickest. Earth Mother, Mother Earth, page 54. All right, so Mother Earth says, feel loved and comforted. The message is, allow yourself to be cherished. Mother Earth is protecting you with a shield of love and light. Protecting us with love and light. And she has an abundance of love for us, her two-legged children. She has many children, right? Anything and everyone that is alive on the planet, and everything has life, and a life force essence, right, is her child. So she has many, many children. Yeah. I don't know. I find comfort in that. Makes me happy. Yeah, makes people in the chat happy too. Roberta says, and sometimes it can be a past generation. Yeah, it's true. Those fears can go from one generation to another. We learn our fears sometimes from our parents and them from their parents. It can be in the lineage, in the DNA. For many Native Americans, we have something called traumatic trauma, historical trauma. That's it, historical trauma. But the same could be said for those people of German descent, right? Same thing could be said of people with Jewish descent. They have historical trauma. Irish have historical trauma. I think that we all do in some respect. In some respect. I was thinking of the English. Okay, they may have some trauma from World War II with all the bombings that happened during World War II in England. And if you go back far enough, right, really far back, when the Romans were conquering different continents, they did conquer the British, right? And so they too have historical trauma in their background as well. So we're all healing something about some sort of trauma that happened to our ancestors. That, you're right, Roberta, handing it down from one generation to another, and that's through our DNA, right? Through the memories in our DNA. But we also carry the wisdom too, not just the trauma, but we also carry the wisdom too. Yeah, from them. All right, so Earth Mother, or Mother Earth, it says that she is the female counterpart of Father Sky. This is an auspicious card to receive because in the eyes and heart of Mother Earth, you are her child, and she is highly protective of her baby and will give you everything you need to grow and expand. Everything. So when we're tracking down our fears to heal them so that we can realize our desires, our heart desires, she's there for us, right? And the thing is that Mother Earth, Grandmother Earth, she's on everyone's spiritual team. Everyone's. Just like Grandfather Sky is. So she's already on your spiritual team. And so when you're tracking down your fears and you have those moments where either it's overwhelming or like the day I had yesterday, and is to get grounded And so I spent some time outside. Of course, George was with me. We were just in the backyard. I was putzing around. I was cleaning up after him. And then when I got done with that, we played some fetch. And after that, we just kind of hung out in the backyard, kind of quiet with each other. And I was working on getting grounded. Yeah, and it helped. It helped. And so she's there for us. We just have to call on her. We just have to be there with her, and ask her for her assistance. Yeah, it actually felt pretty good when I came back inside. I don't know. We were out there for maybe a half hour, 45 minutes or so. I wish I could say that he got tired from that. It didn't. It energized him. That little puppy. So here's what else that Kyle said about Mother Earth that kind of jumped out at me for this read. It says that if you have felt ungrounded, know that Mother Earth is here to root you and help you to regain your sense of strength, your balance, right? So when we're facing our fears, when we're going to the root of them, maybe acknowledging something that we really don't want to acknowledge because it could mean a lot of different things for you. But when we acknowledge it and we can name it, then we are actually heading toward healing it, right? But in that moment of the realization is like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that event happening. And so then you can start working on identifying the underlying emotions and that sort of thing, right? Yeah. The other thing that jumped out at me is that you are being guided to make choices that are based on love. You're guided to make choices based on love. So when you work through your fear on whatever particular event that was or occasion, that when you've done the healing work, the decisions you make, you can be in your heart to make those decisions, those choices, rather than making choices on fear, right? And there's a theme here, because yesterday, remember, it was all about protection, and there was a sentence in there about letting we were talking about boundaries, right? And when we set up boundaries, when we have healthy boundaries, those boundaries are based on our intention and love for ourselves, right? For ourselves. Rather than, and this is what we were being asked, is to really evaluate our protection so that it wasn't created out of fear. Your protection circles, your boundaries, that if it was created out of fear, we were being asked to let that go and basically do an upgrade, update it to the energy that we're now living in, and have it more heart-based rather than fear-based. And so I think that today's card read is also a part of that, because we're basing our choices in love rather than fear. Because you know what? When we do it out of fear, holy cow, that is a huge energy drain. It's just because it's like trying to remember, if you're lying, who you just lied to and what did you say, because now you have to support that lie, right? And so it takes a lot of energy to keep those lies in place. This is very similar, that when we create a boundary out of fear, we spend a lot of our energy ensuring that that boundary is in place because we have a great deal of fears around something, right? So rather than using your energy to perpetuate the fear, the spirit is asking us to use your energy to track down those fears, face those fears. Yeah. And so that you can heal it and let it go. It frees up your energy so it can be used for other things, right? And Grandmother Earth, Mother Earth is here to help us with that, to be grounded to her, to be stable, to be strong, to be able to persevere. Um, I was just thinking about last night. I was actually in bed and probably asleep by 10. That hardly ever occurs. I'm usually maybe heading up. If it's early, it's 11:30, right? Now, it doesn't mean I got everything done that I usually do. No, I still have videos that I have to work with. But yeah, I just couldn't go anymore. It was like I knew I was going to go to bed early. I knew it. Had to. That expansion headache I had yesterday. And it really, I think a lot of that had to do with the 11-11-11, because we talked about that, right? On Monday. And it was also a part of a discussion, a conversation I had with my sisters, that sharing about an occurrence and an event that happened that we all experienced. And so, just talking about it, I think started the healing process, or another layer of the healing. And then once you have that healing and you're able to release whatever that was, we're in expansion. We have soul growth. And so I think some of what I was going through was about an expansion thing. Hey, Mary Anderson Fry just joined us. Hello, Mary. Welcome to the live stream. Let me show the cards that we got. There we go. The first card that came today was Hunter. Tracking down your fears and desires. And we've been talking about the tracking down of your fears. And the second card that came is Mother Earth. Feel loved and comforted. And so that she loves us, she nurtures us, she gives us everything that we need for our soul's growth, right? And so between these two cards, I really do believe that we're being encouraged to track down those fears, to begin the healing process around that, so that we can have our heart's desire, right? Yeah. And that Grandmother Earth is here to support us all along the way. We just need to ask her for help. That when we're feeling ungrounded, is to be able to ground to her. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's as easy as going outside and just standing on the grass or standing in the sand. Many people go and sit by a tree or carry certain stones or crystals in their pocket. Huh. That just reminded me of something. She started out as a client, a feng shui client, a space clearing client, and ended up being a good friend. And she recently, I think they've been out there 2 or 3 years now, Colorado, moved from Wisconsin to Colorado. She used to actually write for us for Star Nations magazine before she moved. But when she was my client, her son, I've known her son and her daughter since they were, her daughter since she was a baby, and her son since he was a toddler, right? And now both of them, one's in college and one's going to be finishing up high school. Anyway, her son had a thing about stones, and rocks. And so did someone else's son too. Somebody used to help me with my website, my very first website. He too had a thing about stones. And actually the second boy, his room had lots and lots of stones. Anywhere he went, he was picking up stones, bringing them home. And to the point where his mom, when she'd be reaching into his pants pockets, his jeans to do laundry, she knew she'd be finding stones. And so it got to the point where it was just an overwhelming amount of stones in his room. And she just really wanted him to get rid of them, And I said, I'm thinking he's using the energy of these stones to be grounded to the earth plane. I said, maybe we should help him ground, and eventually he'll move past needing so many stones, right? And so that's what we did. And then I sat in his room and talked to him and asked him about how he felt about picking out the ones that he really, really, really liked a lot. And those are the ones that we would display. And the ones that, that felt good, but, they weren't his favorites, that we could maybe put them in a container. And if he ever wanted to use them or get at them, they'd be easy enough to do, but they wouldn't necessarily all have to be laying out all over the floor and counters and that kind of thing. And so, and basically that's what he ended up doing. But he was definitely using the stones to be grounded to Grandmother Earth. And so, you can do that, right? There's certain stones and crystals that you can carry in your pocket. You can wear them. And so to be grounded to Grandmother Earth, many times all you have to do is bring images to your mind of Grandmother Earth, someone that you just really love a lot. It could be your own backyard. It could be just about anywhere, and be able to bring those images to you so you can ground, right? And send your love. Send Grandmother Earth love. Yeah. So a question in the chat room for those. Hey, Christine's here too. Christine, another one of our sisters. And Elise joined again. Elise must have had to jump out and come back in. Question for you is that, are you working on your fears, healing them, identifying them, or at least acknowledging, okay, I see you. I know who you are, or I know what you are. I see you. And sometimes that's the first step, right? And sometimes that's what we need is baby steps to get to the root, to start with baby steps. And that's okay. At least you're moving forward. Yeah. And the other question I have is, do you use a method or a way to ground to Grandmother Earth, to Mother Earth? 2 questions. I'm curious. We'll give you a second, actually 5 seconds, because we have a 5-second delay from the time I say something to the time that you hear it, right? And while we're waiting for replies to come in for those 2 questions, I wanted to remind you that if you have a topic, a subject that you'd like Star Nations to cover, please let me know. You can type it into the comments here, and please tag me, okay, when you do that, because at least I know they're out there then. So anything that you'd like to hear on a live stream show, to know more about, something that we can be writing about in the magazine. And because I'm going to be pulling together the topics lists for 2019, and I'd like to have that done by the end of November, so that the writers, right, the writers will have the list for 2019. And I'll be sending out to the show hosts, to those who have shows, but maybe they don't contribute to the magazine, so that they have your topics that you're very interested in. All right, so Mary is saying yes. Baby steps. I am moving forward. Yay. She says she lies down in the grass. Mm-hmm. And Elise says got cut off for a bit. Okay, I kind of figured you probably got kicked out or something, had to come back in. Roberta says being barefoot for sure outside. Mm-hmm. And Julie says walking barefoot when weather permits. Yeah, absolutely. We spend so much time indoors, don't we? What is it? The average U.S. person is 90 or 95% of the time they spend indoors. On the average, that's a lot. Many Kansmen can teach us a heck of a lot about forest bathing. Shinrin Roku, I think, is the full name for that, out of Japan. And so Minnie does lead forest therapy walks and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, definitely, and when weather isn't permitting, knowing that you can use your imagination. Imagine that place in nature that you just really, really love, and really make it real for yourself, so that you can feel the grass, you can smell the flowers, you can feel the sunlight on your skin. Anything that can make it so real for you, like you're actually there, right? Can use that in inclement weather or 8-degree weather. Elise says monarch butterflies, which is becoming okay for the magazine. Okay, one can plant milkweed to help them come back and repopulate. Yep. In fact, there's a whole movement about that, and has been for several years. A good friend of ours, another one of our sisters, Teresa Girardi, actually helps with that down in Wisconsin. Here, she is part of a I can't remember the name of the group, but it's part of the Department of Natural Resources, and they actually go and they even collect seeds from the milkweed, so that they can be replanted someplace else, and so that the butterflies have more of an environment to call home when they're doing their thing here, right? And so Elise, monarch. All right, there we go. Added it to the list. There is that, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's been around Facebook many, 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 many times. And that is the video of the monarch butterflies as they're migrating, right? And what's his name? Lewis. He was the pioneer of slow motion photography and videos. I used to know his name, Lewis something or other. Anyway, he has lots of video, time-elapsed video of the monarchs, and when they turn from the chrysalis to the butterfly, and also in their migration. And did you know that both the monarch and the hummingbird, they will actually catch a ride with other birds that are bigger than they are, and they'll it's calling a Uber or a Lyft, and so they get a little bit of I don't know, more miles and less energy expenditure, because they just caught a ride. Julie says, for the magazine, work on the phases of the moon. Yeah, that's another good one. Thank you, Julie. Phases of the moon. You know who's going to jump on that one? I just know it is going to be Julie Hedges. Yeah, she'll be one of them for sure. I'm sure that some of our contributing writers will certainly also pick that one up, from coming at it from different perspectives, right? For instance, Julie could do it from the astrology perspective. where maybe Adrian Campbell would do it, and or Carla Joe might do it from the solitary witch standpoint, right? Their perspective. And working with the phases of the moon, just not the phases, but working with them. Yay, those are good topics. Good ones. So, you know the drill. Anything and everything that you heard or saw here today, if it resonated with you, please pick it up, hold it, embrace it, bring it close. Because the more that we help each other, support each other in the healing work that we have to do individually, collectively, we move a lot of energy that way, in a good way. And so please pick it up, embrace it. See how the energy of the day unfolded for you, and how this information either helped you or helped you go, oh, that's what I've got to do. You know? So, and if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You can just let it lie. Maybe the next topic, the next cards for tomorrow will resonate with you. But you know, you can always be the messenger. Share the recorded video with somebody who you know that might enjoy the conversation or was looking for certain information, right? Yeah. Very cool. And Elise says, I'm growing milkweed in my house right now. Well, good for you, Elise. Yay for you. I remember way back when Minnie was living in her house in Lowell, they did that. They planted milkweed in the front part of their driveway in an like a little meadow area, and they planted milkweed there. Yeah, we should talk about milkweed. Remind me tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about milkweed and how it can help us too. The two-leggeds. Yeah. All right. So what's coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern is Polly Joe's hour and a half of healing and divine messages called Soul Connections. And it's broadcasted, the live stream is broadcasted from her Chakra Sessions fan page. And if you're a light worker, an energy worker, and you have put yourself kind of down on lower on the list when it comes to healing and taking care of yourself, this is a good time to come in with your own intention and what you want to heal, what you want to release, maybe even what you want to understand better, right? Maybe it's your soul contract you want to understand better. You can come in with your own intention, your own spiritual team. And what Polly Joe does is she creates this sacred space, and through her and her spiritual team, they help us. They help us to do the healing, to do the releasing. So it's a concerted effort, right? And so that's at 7 p.m. And the card draw that she does is individual card draw. So if you want a card, you just put in the comment section, yes, please, and she will draw a card for you and do the reading. So that's at 7 p.m. So I'm going to be there. I'll be helping her. Yet last week she drew 49 cards, 49. And so I'm there anyway, right? But I'm going to be helping her keep track of the names and that sort of thing tonight. So I'll see you there. Roberta says, magazine coming up on another Meteor Great Shower event soon. Okay. All right. So Meteor shower events. All right. Got it. Thank you, Roberta. So with that, I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's card draw live stream. And Bama Mina, that means in Potawatomi, until we see each other again. Love you guys.